Hi, welcome to Astro Babble. I'm Donna from Donna B Astrology.
And I'm Lynda from Scallywag Astrology.
And today we are going to be talking about the full moon in Gemini.
hmm So I'll bring up the chart.
The moon mansion that we have this for this fortnight will be the sixth moon mansion. It is called the Little Star of Great Light, and it has energy of, according to Ptolemy, it has the influences of Mercury and Venus, which is really nice for it means it's really good for love and friendship and affection. It has a fundamental duality to this type of energy. So it can, love is that kind of you can love somebody or the opposite of it. Love and passion can be just as strong as hate. So it can really flip flop on that. For that, it needs to be a little bit of caution, and it's not good for building, and it's not good for long crops. So if you have a crop that, like a 10-day crop, like a lettuce, could, is might be fine, but a long-term crop like a pumpkin or squash might take, not good for planting those things. So that's the moon mansion.
Interesting. We have Mercury and Venus coming up to a sextile in the chart. And what's really interesting is that it's Venus that's chasing Mercury rather than the other way around, because Mercury is getting ready to slow down. This full moon is in Gemini, so it's ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is opposite the full moon in Sagittarius. So unfortunately, it's in detriment. It's in a sign opposite to where it usually would be, which is a shame, but it is out from under the beams of the sun, so that's good. But as I was saying, it is slowing down to it's still going at 134% of its usual speed, but it will be retrograde from the 13th of December. So it's slowly slowing down. That Venus is going at 117, but by the time that aspect comes up, it's actually Venus that's chasing Mercury. Usually Mercury would be the one that's the faster moving planet and coming up to overtake it. I'm just looking at their travel here, but by the time we get to the actual aspect, you'll see that it's actually Venus chasing Mercury, which I think is quite interesting.
Very interesting, noting that both the moon and Mercury are both out of bounds.
Ooh, that is interesting. Mm.
So
So,
those are the main players for these next 2 weeks, and they're out of bounds. So a little bit off the beaten path.
well, I mean, Mercury is a trickster too, so yeah, be in for an interesting time.
That'll be warming us up for that Mercury retrograde that's going to be coming.
Yeah, well, Mercury will get all the way into Capricorn before it actually stations retrograde. For this full moon, unfortunately, Jupiter cannot see the full moon, so they can't assist it, which is a shame. We've got Jupiter in Taurus, and they're in its kind of blind spot, unfortunately. Saturn can see it though, and is squaring it, which is a little bit troubling. And Mars is opposite. In fact, Mars is the closest planet to oppose this full moon, apart from the sun itself, because a full moon is when the sun and moon are opposite each other. So it's interesting because we will have just had that Mars square Saturn aspect just before this full moon, and that kind of stop-start energy. So I think of Gemini as very playful. It's like we said, it's the mischief maker at times, and yeah, I don't know how the mischief maker is going to take this stop-start energy.
Because it likes to keep moving. It likes to it likes to keep moving.
Yeah. Oh my. I'm just looking too. Mercury, the ruler of this full moon, is going to be square Neptune too. So that will be interesting because when Neptune kind of makes connection to Mercury, it's kind of almost like a Mercury retrograde type feel in that everything's kind of blurry and you kind of, it's just foggy and, things can get all tumbled and jumbled up and miscommunications and even deception. So, yeah, we've got a lot going on in the mutable signs with this full moon too. We've got
Yeah.
Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. We have Mercury, Sun, and Mars in Sagittarius, and the moon itself in Gemini. So what's that? 3, 5, 6 planets in mutable signs. So that's somewhat helpful. I mean, mutability does mean that they're adaptable, quick on their feet. Well, apart from Saturn, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's quick energy. It's ready to change.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can smell it in the air.
Yeah. Well, shall we have a look at the horoscopes for this full moon?
That would be a great idea. And Lynda, and I always recommend that we or that you listen to your rising sign. It is most reflective of you yourself. You can, if you don't know your rising sign, the first option would be to get a hold of either Lynda or I to get your chart so that you can get your rising sign. But you would need to know your time of birth and your location and all of that. And we did a video on why it is important to read your rising sign. So that's what we're going to go with. So if you are a Gemini, this full moon will be happening in your first house. And the first house, its full moons are indicative of completions or for, fulfilling whatever you started out probably about 6 months ago. So, if you were, this is in the house of yourself, the first house of Gemini, that is thinking that your things might be coming to completion that had something to do with just you. If you were like redoing your bedroom or, just doing something for yourself, this is where this might come to completion with that.
And if you are a Taurus ascendant, this full moon is happening in your second house. The second house is the house of our income and personal finances and our personal resources. It's what assists and sustains us. So there could be endings or completions or high points to do with these matters. It could be, maybe you're finally able to buy something that you need, a resource that's going to be extremely helpful for you, or maybe you've been saving for something and, now you've kind of reached that goal. Yeah, so something to do with that. It is our income, so it is possible that an income source ends at this time. Hopefully it wouldn't be too problematic. There is Mars in the 8th house of shared finances and resources, though, and Mars is associated with cutting. So it could be your personal finances from a joint investment or something similar may be cut. And yeah, but if that's how it goes, that's how it goes.
And if you are an Aries rising, this full moon is going to be happening in your third house. And the third house is the house of community and early education, as well as languages. And, this could be, something that's coming to completion or culmination around, something that you might have started 6 months ago with your community or even your brothers and sisters, extended family. So, yeah, if you were planning on, 6 months ago at the family barbecue, to how you're going to spend the holidays, this might all be coming to fruition right around now.
And if you are a Pisces ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 4th house. The 4th house is our family, most particularly our parents. So this could be something that's not happening to you. It could be regarding your parents. It's also our home and living situation. So it may be something is coming to an end regarding a house or, who you live with. It could be, settlement on a house. It could be because, when we talk about endings, they're not necessarily bad. Sometimes they're a high point or, reaching a goal. Or it could be real estate matters or something to do with heritage. So, yeah, high point, culmination, or ending to do with those matters. And as I said, could be more to do with your parents. Maybe your parents are, moving out of their house, downgrading perhaps to a smaller place, or, they may have some project that they've been working on that's wrapping up at this time.
And if you are an Aquarius rising, this is going to be happening in your fifth house. And the fifth house is the house where you are creative out of. So this could be with children. This could be art, if you are working on an art project. This could also be hobbies as well. So if you have a hobby that, you want to get tickets to go see a particular show, this would be a culmination where you may be getting to this show.
Very nice. And if you are a Capricorn ascendant, this full moon is happening in your sixth house. The sixth house is illness. It's also pets, those that work for us, and it also covers people that work in service of others. This includes people like doctors, nurses, first responders. So yeah, there might be a high point or a culmination regarding these topics. It could be an ending. It could be somebody you work with or somebody that works for you is leaving. It could be something like, your dog's going to obedience school and it graduates at this time. Or for people that work in service of others, maybe they're graduating from an academy or from university or something similar. Maybe they've passed a course at this time. Or it could be, some sort of recognition or reward, because this is high points as well. With regard to illness and that, maybe this could be the end of an illness. It has had the moon oppose Mars previously to that. Could be, there's been an operation or something. Not the best time to necessarily have an operation on a full moon, but but maybe this is a sign that, there's been some sort of significant thing. There's a lot going on in the 12th house, which amongst other things can be hospital. So yeah, maybe there's been an operation or there's some sort of completion or ending to a course of treatment or an illness itself.
And if you are a Sagittarius rising, this full moon is going to be happening in your seventh house. And the seventh house is the house of the other person that you have a committed relationship with. And that could be not only a spouse, but it could also be somebody that you have an appointment with, like a lawyer or a doctor or hair appointment, or just somebody who is committed to seeing you as well. And I do see that it's directly opposite that Mars and squaring that Saturn. So there's a little malefic kind of qualities to all of these when this hits, because the planets are all moving together. So no matter what sign you are, those malefic qualities might try to poke their heads in whatever you are celebrating after the culmination that you are finally achieving with this full moon. It might flavor those with a little bit of restriction.
Yeah, could be a real stop-go energy to whatever's happening, with the Mars just wanting to charge forward and Saturn kind of holding it back, or trying to at least. And if you are a Scorpio ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. The 8th house is the house of other people's money. It includes things like inheritances, loans, debts, financial agreements, taxes, insurance. So yeah, there could be a high point or a culmination regarding these matters. Maybe you inherited earlier in the year and now it's actually being settled and the money's going into your account. If that's the case, with Mars in your second, I suspect you're going to have pretty big plans for that pretty soon. Mars in the second often means that money burns a hole in your pocket. In some cases, with Mars in your house, it could be there's a high point. Maybe you're joining finances with somebody, because that could be cutting, because Mars is cutting your personal finances somewhat, but there's a high point, you're joining it somewhere else, maybe with a partner, whether that's business or romantic, or, maybe you're, cutting the budget so that you can pay off a big bill or a big debt or something similar. But for whatever reason, shared finances and resources are very much a part of this full moon for you.
Very interesting. And if you are a Libra rising, this full moon is going to be happening in your ninth house. And the ninth house is, it has everything to do with higher education, the esoteric subjects, as well as law and publishing. Yeah, so this is culmination in, like, if something, whatever you've been working towards about 6 months ago, if you're a Libra rising, this is going to be coming together with this is the house of philosophy or your higher learning. So this is a house where you do that, the things that ride on the future, and this would be coming to fruition right around this time.
And if you are a Virgo ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 10th house. The 10th house is career and public reputation. It's honors and rewards, fame and infamy. So with a full moon, it's very bright. So it's going to be very visible, whatever you're in the spotlight for. The 10th house is one of the most visible houses. So yeah, look, you might be being honored or recognized in some way for something that you've done. You might be doing well at work. You may be finishing up a big project at work. It's possible that you could be leaving work, or maybe a boss is moving on, because this is also the house of authorities. But for whatever reason, endings, high points, and completions are a significant part of this full moon for you.
Pretty exciting.
It could be,
In the
yes.
10th house. But if you are a Leo, this full moon's going to be happening in your 11th house, and that is the house of your hopes and dreams. It's also the house of your groups and associations. So things might be coming to fruition of anything that you might be working towards regarding, groups and associates. This would be coming to fruition right around this time. Nice time for that.
Very nice. And if you're a Cancer ascendant, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of our undoing. It's also places of exile or retreat. So this could be a high point, culmination, or ending regarding those matters. Maybe you're looking to kick a bad habit at this time or overcome an addiction. There is a lot going on in your 6th house of, amongst other things, illnesses. So with Mars, Sun, and Mercury there, maybe something's come to a head and, you need to cut out something that's been bad for you, a self-defeating habit or a self-undoing activity. But it could also just be that, you've been in hospital or someplace like a prison, because both of those are places of confinement, which are also covered under the 12th house signification. So if you've been in hospital for a long time or somehow felt imprisoned, it may not be literal prison, but it may have felt like a bit of a prison for you. Maybe that time is coming to an end. May not be immediately, because these full moons do kind of flow for the next 2 weeks. But, this might be the beginning of the end. You're kind of being discharged, or, you've found out that, yes, I can, leave here. Places of exile. It's traditionally kind of known as being far from home. So, yeah, hopefully really good for you. High point, ending, or completion. Could even be someone's been to rehab and they're leaving at this time, something similar like that. Or, you've been working behind the scenes and now you're getting ready to, say within the next couple of weeks, maybe, show what you've been working on behind the scenes.
I do have a stone. I do. And it is carnelian. It is an orange stone. It's an orange to red stone. It is in the quartz family. And it's from orange to like a dark red. There's many. This is what it looks like in the raw form. So it's kind of interesting. This is called carnelian. It's been around for over 4,000 years. This is one of the older stones that has been around for like a long time. It originally comes from India. those are where the more gemmy pieces are coming from, is India, but we get a lot of it from Brazil and Uruguay as well. And this is called carnelian. This stone, for what I consider, this is a good stone for abundance. So this is why I did it. This is also the stone of commerce. So you can have it in bracelets. Those are the different colors, if you can kind of, see the range of orange, but it is basically an orange stone. Yeah, and it goes for the first, second, or third chakra as well. It has the element of fire. And this is why I picked it for the Gemini full moon, because, Gemini is with commerce, and this would be the stone of abundance.
Very
And
nice.
it comes, it has the most hardness of 7, so it is it's nice and hard. So it's really good for jewelry. A lot of it's good for jewelry, but it is, if whatever you want for abundance, this is the stone that you would use. And I use it a lot for to spark that lower fire, that to get somebody up and moving and pursuing their dreams. So this is carnelian, and it is a great stone. It's one of the basic stones for the chakra when you do a chakra layout, which is what I do for energy balancing, in order to promote healthier healing, or keeping your body in a healthy healing mode.
Very nice.
It's called carnelian. I will be writing an article and getting a picture of them so that you can see the different ranges. Yeah.
Excellent.
That is carnelian.
Well,
It was one of the stones on Aaron's breastplate. Aaron had a breastplate that was almost like a grid. It had like 9 stones.
Is this
16?
like in the
I think it was maybe
Bible?
4x4. Yeah, Aaron is Moses' brother.
Oh, okay. Well, shall we have a look at the upcoming aspects?
Oh, yes. And the first aspect we have is Mercury squares Neptune. This is like, don't go to meet your lawyer today. This is a good day to just be laid back. This speaks of miscommunication, with a capital M. It's whatever you're saying, because Mercury is in charge of how you communicate. Neptune is in charge of how you dream. So whatever you might be hearing might cause you to think of something totally different. This is very confusing energy. This is good also for being sensitive to your surroundings. If you are pursuing the esoteric subjects, this is also really good for studying those.
Yeah, as Donna said, very confusing energy. It's not great time for drilling down to the details and getting something exactly right and fully understanding what's happening. Mercury's already in a sign of its detriment in Sagittarius, so it's not strong anyway. That Neptune just blurs the boundaries. It's, great time for daydreaming, could be great for creativity, could be a great time to be inspired by something, inspired thinking, or particularly if it's a very idealized thing, something, altruistic, helping others, that would be a good expression of this energy. But look, it's just as likely you could be deceived or just, confused. Not a great time for signing contracts.
The next aspect that we are going to see is going to be Mercury is going to enter Capricorn. And Mercury, when it enters Capricorn, this is one of those times. Mercury was one of the planets that was mentioned in the moon mansion that is prominently featured. And when it goes into Capricorn, every time a planet moves into another sign, it's a good day to journal. This will create a shift that you might notice, especially if you have planets, early in the Earth signs. A really good day to journal when any planet moves into a new sign. But this would be like an eloquent speaker. This would be good time to speak to those things where you want to change.
Yeah, Mercury in Capricorn, it's ruled by Saturn. So thinking might not be as quick in this sign, but it's more thinking about practical matters because it is an earth sign. It's cardinal, so it's good on initiating. But yeah, that Saturn there, it does tend to be slower, very kind of be serious, depending, like it's going to have a sextile to its ruler, Saturn. So that will really good time for planning something serious, something that you want to last. Good time perhaps for, serious thinking in general, but particularly early on when it first moves in, because it's going to have that sextile, which is a helpful aspect to its ruler. It's not about cutting corners. It's not about bending the rules necessarily, which it might have been in Sagittarius, but it's a solid practical sign. It's more serious, which is a shame coming into December, but it's always around here. I suppose this is like the details. If you're having holiday celebrations, okay, how many people are coming? How much am I going to have to buy? What sort of food am I getting? This is where that practicality can really shine, even on a very daily basis sort of thing. It's getting your ducks in a row.
I was thinking the same thing. That it's you're critical of surroundings. You want you're like, oh well, that isn't quite right, or you're wanting to fix things and make sure that things are the way they're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's not such a good aspect for, say, daydreaming and that, but it's kind of like, yep, well, we're working now. So
It's a day where the details will matter.
and it's going to be in there for, probably 3 weeks. Oh, well, actually, it's going to retrograde in this sign too. It's only going to get to 8 degrees before it retrogrades. So, and it is getting slower. When we looked at this, what was that, 3 days earlier at the full moon, it was moving at about 133% of its usual speed. It's down to 120% now, which, it's still going faster than usual, but it's slowing down and getting ready for that retrograde. So that, as well as being in a slower sign such as Capricorn, thinking's not going to be as quick, and it may take longer to plan things. It may communications may be a little bit more structured and rigid, and same with learning. If you're trying to learn something at this time, flying by the seat of your pants probably isn't the way to go. You need to have a plan and a structure. Talking about this just before, so Mercury, a day after it moves into Capricorn, is going to sextile Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn. So this is a good time for solid, practical, conservative thinking. Not necessarily a great time for brainstorming great ideas, but it's getting the details right and making sure everything's on board and everything's accounted for. And good, solid, practical time for planning, thinking, and communications.
There's such a duality to Mercury. But it's it's, as Lynda was saying, the details are going to matter today. The next aspect we are going to be facing is Venus is going to square Pluto. This is a challenging aspect. It always is a challenging aspect whenever there's a square involved. It's asking us to do something. But this is with Pluto, it likes to have that control, and Pluto likes to be intense. So watch out for power plays and people who want to take advantage. This is a good aspect and a good energy for people wanting to take advantage of situations. So be careful of that.
can also lead in personal relationships to jealousy, possessiveness, obsession. Yeah, just an intense, quite often not comfortable time in relationships. Venus is earlier in zodiacal order, so she does have some dignity here. She's in a sign that she rules, so that's good for her, but she's also with the South Node, which does tend to decrease, and some people consider the South Node a little bit malefic, so not the most comfortable position for her. She's moving quite fast at the moment, 118% of her usual speed. So, a day or two, just like Donna said, be aware of your surroundings, or if people are trying to manipulate you, maybe it's just a good time to go, you know what, just going to step back for a little bit here. We can discuss this later, or,
Not an aspect to look forward to. It's one that you need to approach with caution.
Yeah, she's moving up to a trine with Saturn, so that's something to look forward to. That will give her some stability in a few days, but and she's going to have a sextile to Mercury. Yeah, look, it's going to be a little bit intense, and depending on what houses in your chart are being activated. So this is Libra and Capricorn. Topics associated with those houses might give you some indication of where you can expect this to be coming from and what it's about.
And the next aspect we're going to be talking about is when Venus is going to enter Scorpio. And she's moving into her detriment here, and she's not going to have the tools that she had before. So hopefully you enjoyed Venus when she was in her own sign. This is a sign where she has, she doesn't have the pink wand to wave or whatever Venus uses. I mean, Venus does have a fighting aspect, but she does not have all of her tools in this particular sign. And so she's going to not be able to work as nicely as she has in the past.
Yeah. The good thing about Venus is, though, that she is a benefic. So wherever Scorpio is in your chart, you can expect maybe some nice things to happen regarding the people and topics associated with the house. But yeah, she's not super strong here. She's in detriment. Yeah. So this can be in Scorpio, she's a little bit intense and emotional, and she's still a benefic. Hopefully she'll bring us nice things. She's moving up towards opposition to Jupiter, so that'll be a fun time.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get to that, she's going to have a trine with Saturn. That's on the 5th of December. Venus trine Saturn, this can actually lend some stability to Venus, which is nice. Venus in Scorpio, quite intense, can be quite jealous and possessive. So she's, I think, in particular, going to like this trine to Saturn in Pisces. This brings kind of comfort and dependability, relying on, others. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but it's comfortable and it's known and it's mature, knowing that you can depend on that partner or that person. And it's not just necessarily romantic relationships, it can be friendships, it can be art and beauty, and it's bringing structure and durability and dependability with it.
This is the right before the holidays. This is the great aspect. If you have a budget that you need to stick to, this would be the day that you need to go shopping. This is going to help you stick with your budget. This is going to give you that stability. And with Venus in Scorpio, she's going to get right down to like, what exactly do you want? What exactly do you need? This is really good for a budget. If you need to go shopping, this would be the day to pick. If you need to stick to that budget, this is going to keep you conservative and but generous. I like this. I kind of do with the holidays, coming upon us. This is a really good aspect to use.
Yeah.
It's stability. It's generosity with stability.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got Mercury, which is like commerce and that in, it's practical Capricorn. So yeah, maybe retailers aren't going to have such a bonanza this year at Christmas time. Be interesting.
It would be interesting if only December 5th was the only day we could shop. But I think there are other days where people can blow money.
Oh, I'm sure of it. And then on the 6th of December, we have Neptune stationing direct. So Neptune, one of the outer planets, it's retrograde for a long time, for like 5 or 6 months of the year. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto are always retrograde every year. So is Jupiter and Saturn. Look, I personally don't notice it unless it's kind of making contact with a natal planet. If you've got planets, natal planets, around about 24 degrees of the mutable, so that's Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Gemini, you might really notice this. Maybe once Neptune is going direct again, maybe things become a little bit clearer, which would be really good, because it's like this living in a fog with Neptune sometimes, particularly if it's hovering around a planet of yours. Yeah, look, maybe things will clear up. That's great. For many of us, it's just business as usual, I think. How do you find like the outer stationing direct or retrograde for you, Donna?
I think they can as well be impactful if you have planets at 24 degrees, for sure, Lynda. That is definitely needs to be mentioned, because when planets are there, when planets tend to station, they do make an impact, especially if you have planets around that. This leads to confusion. This could be a good day to, well, this could be a day where, you might want to be careful around medicines. If medicines tend to affect you, sometimes people can be affected. I think my sister, gets really sleepy if she takes an aspirin. So some people get affected with medicines, and for that reason, this would be a day to exercise caution, because Neptune is that planet that, and it's, and in the modern sense, Neptune is in its own sign, and so it's going to be strong. This could either lead to a really hard expression of Neptune, which could be either confusion or sensitivity to whether it's medicines, or I want to say those esoteric subjects, the energies around you. This would be a day where you're going to see more of those. So be careful if you have a sensitivity to those things.
Yeah.
Drugs, alcohol.
Yeah, I was going to say your recreational drugs too. Particularly with that moon, like the moon's at 28 degrees when Neptune stations direct, but leading up like 6 hours or something beforehand, it will be directly opposite. And the moon is our body. So yeah, good call. I think that's a really good call.
And then the next aspect we have is Mercury is going to trine Jupiter, who is retrograde. So this is those two planets together are good for trade and for commerce, and this is where you're probably not going to do well for keeping with your budget. This is Jupiter is, it wants to look for the long-term picture, but in a retrograde state it might act a little wonkier. Like, you might grab that sweater that nobody else likes but you. This would be, this would be how that could manifest, is that you're trying to, buy gifts and stuff like that, and it's just really not working as well. But it is good. This would be really good for studying. If you're going over information for those tests. I know at the end of this year that, schools are wrapping up their testing, and if you're in like elementary school, it's ending a semester. So this would be good to re-look at all that information that you had learned before.
Yeah.
But this is good for study.
Yeah, I like what you said too about maybe overspending your budget, because I mean Jupiter is associated with generosity and optimism. You might think, oh yes, well within the budget, I'm doing well, and yeah, end up spending way more than you expect. Big ideas, they may be a little bit overly ambitious, but look, Mercury is at least in Capricorn now, so it is a little bit more practical. If this was, it was not long ago in Sagittarius. it would have been really over the top. But yeah, it's big thinking, big picture thinking. These are kind of two opposite planets. Yes, they're both interested in knowledge, but Mercury's wanting to drill down into the details, the minutiae and all that. Jupiter's much more big picture orientated, interested in the larger details and the bigger subjects and philosophy and law and, what's right and that. Whereas Mercury's much more interested in the details. So can be, but it's a trine. It's helpful, but unfortunately Jupiter is retrograde. So yeah, it's not functioning as well as it could be. Could also be it's not as optimistic at the moment. So you may have some big ideas, but you may be quick to not really take advantage of them, perhaps, because that optimism is a little bit dented. But yeah, look, it's it is what it is.
Well, Mercury is still out of bounds, so kind of acting a little
Little
renegade.
erratic. Interesting.
And almost all the planets are almost all peregrine except Saturn and Mercury. They're the only ones who have a little bit of dignity. So everybody else is acting.
But I mean, Mercury's
weak.
down to 73% of its usual speed. It's getting ready to, within a week, it's going to retrograde. So maybe Jupiter does something so over the top that it has to go and backtrack. We shall see. On the 9th of December, we have Venus opposite retro Jupiter, which can also be quite a fun time. You've got the two benefics. They're in opposition, so it might be a little bit challenging. This is usually too much of a good thing. So yeah, maybe too much holiday cheer or too much holiday spending.
You know what? I thought this would be a great day for a wedding. I really did. With you have those two opposites. It's that they're looking. They're like, the big picture, and I love you. I kind of this is definitely, like you said, this is a good day to overdo. This is a good day to, especially with Jupiter is a little retrograde, so but that could go really sideways. Just a different, because Jupiter isn't bad when it's retrograde. It's just not as expected. Yeah, watch for the overindulgences. This would not be the day to go shopping if you have a budget that you need to stick to. For sure. Make sure you have good boundaries. This is
that Venus is in detriment too, and probably what 12 hours leading up to that prior, you're going to have the moon come and cross over that Venus as well. So maybe that's when you start the party, and I don't know. But yeah, this is overdoing it. It's too much of a good thing.
Is that possible? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. The older you get, it is.
No, and this is the one that you were asking for. This is the one that you're excited for, the Venus sextile Mercury.
Yeah, because I mean, usually Mercury would sextile Venus, but at this time, Mercury is down to 25% of its usual speed. It's getting really slow. Whereas Venus is up to 120% of her usual speed. So she's going faster than normal. So she's actually been chasing Mercury, and this is when they have their sextile. Yeah, Venus is in sexy Scorpio. She's in detriment. She's kind of a little bit intense and a bit of a siren. And yeah, here's practical Mercury, thinking, communications and that. But yeah, Capricorn is the exaltation of Mars, and it is a sign of the goat. This could be kind of quite a flirty, flirty conversations. This could be fun for a party.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't call it light. I would call it a little bit sexy though. A little bit more intense. It is. This would be great for a party for two. A party for just two people rather than a big party.
I'm seeing party plans already in your mind. But yeah, this is a great day. It's a good day to play hooky and do something fun. You want to do something fun with your mind? This is a good day for that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. This is also the verbal I love yous. This is when they come as well. So
Yes.
yeah, but you were talking about that party for two.
Mm, yeah. I'm just wondering how Venus is going to take it if she doesn't hear it back, though. It's a sextile. It'll be fine. We hope.
Um, I'm sure she'll have some tools. There's Scorpio right there.
Oh, yes, I'm sure she will. She will.
She will get right to the point.
Hmm. And then we have the new moon.
20 degrees,
Yes. Sorry, go on.
new moon in Sag at 20 degrees, 40 minutes.
That's the one. Oh, it's a shame Jupiter can't see it. What a shame. Because Jupiter rules the new moon, and if Jupiter can see it, it can give it assistance, but it can't. And Venus can't help it either. What a shame. It's with Mars and it's sextile. No, that's not a sextile. That's a square to Saturn.
Yeah, well,
What's that, the 12th of December?
yes. And right now, this is very early in the morning for on November 25th that we are doing this. So it is a ways. We have some time to prepare.
Just looking at that Uranus at
Mars is right up in
19,
there.
yeah, 19 Taurus. We don't use the inconjunct, but that's an inconjunct to the new moon. And that tends to need adjustment. So
Adjustment.
yeah. I do believe that for some, particularly if you have planets around about 20 degrees of the mutable, so Sag, Gemini, Pisces, or Virgo, you may have some issues to do with new beginnings, new plans, new starts. Maybe there's, a sudden surprising event that kind of, throws you off a little bit there. But, they will have passed that. Maybe it will be that you need to have new plans because some event has happened. Maybe it's thinking on your feet quickly because this has happened, so I have to change these plans. So yeah, that could work. And I mean, if anybody's got to deal with change plans and has to think quick on their feet, you need to have mutables doing that, I believe.
Yes, they're very good at that.
They are. And where can people find you, Donna, and what are you up to?
You can get a hold of me at donnabastrology.com. That's my website address. And my email address is donnabarconsulting@gmail.com. So and there you can get a hold of me and book for natal readings, electional horary, as well as stone healing. This is what I do to get your chakras all in balance. I would highly suggest you go to my website to figure out why you need to get your chakras balanced. It seems to be what a lot of people are looking for, and I think a lot of people need. There's not a lot of people that have gone through life without traumas, and those traumas tend to take your chakras and move them off alignment, and you can't heal, in my opinion. You can't heal when your chakras are not in line. So that's what I do. And Lynda, what are you doing, and how can people get a hold of you?
I'm at Scullywag Astrology. That's astrology.scullywag.com. I offer year ahead, relationship, and natal readings. So yeah. And I'd like to thank everyone for listening. And we hope that this full moon is a good one for you. Yeah, we love your comments and your likes and your shares. So, and if you're listening on a podcast, we'd really appreciate it if you would rate it and maybe leave a review. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.